Hello, welcome, and thank you all for joining us today for our webcast called Going Agile. My name is David Werner. I'm with CA Technologies, and again, thank you all for joining us today. We hope this will be a interesting and insightful and valuable presentation for you. What we're going to be talking about today is the inside story of how the development team for CA Clarity PPM transitioned from Waterfall to Agile methodologies, and the processes we went through, the lessons we learned, and also the tool that we ended up developing as a result, and we use today and we offer to our customers. So I'll take a moment here to introduce myself and also our guest speaker today. So again, my name is David Werner. I'm with the Solutions Marketing team for CA Clarity PPM, and that also includes components such as Agile Vision, which is used for Agile planning purposes. I've worked on CA Clarity PPM for about 8 years. I've been in the software industry for over 15. And in my time at CA Clarity PPM, I've held a number of different roles, and if you're a Clarity customer, you may have worked with me at some time or another. I've had roles ranging from technical information to product management, where I really started working with customers, and then recently in solutions marketing, where I continue to work with customers, and I do things such as manage our product advisory council, so I end up spending a lot of time with our Clarity customers and now our Agile Vision customers and really learning about their issues and helping them to resolve them. So I'm very happy to be here today, and the person who's going to be doing the most speaking and really telling us the story is Bill Reagan, who is with Digital Celerity. He used to be with CA, spent quite a bit of time on Clarity, and will be able to give us an inside story. But Bill, here, I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Okay, thanks, David. Hi everyone. I'm Bill Reagan, and I spent about 10 years working with Clarity, and almost all of it in Clarity development as a product manager. In the last 6 years, I was actually director of product management for Clarity, overseeing the product roadmap and the direction of Clarity, and took it from release 8 all the way to most recent release of V13. And during that time, specifically around the V13 release, is when CA, or at least the Clarity division of CA, when we went from a more traditional project management approach to an Agile approach. So that's the story I'm going to be telling today. About 6 months ago, after the conclusion of V13, I wanted to move into the solutions and consulting side of Clarity. So I joined Digital Celerity, which is a premier partner of CA for delivering Clarity solutions, and I've been working with Digital Celerity for the last 6 months.
Excellent. Thank you, Bill. And as a reminder, before we get into the content here, I wanted to remind you that there's a Q&A tab on 24, and that's how the questions from you all will be submitted. And what we're planning to do is, after we go through the story here of the Clarity development team and moving to Agile, we do want to go through as many questions as we can that you all have, and they may be questions generally about moving to Agile, or they may be about specific things that the Clarity team went through. Whatever questions you have, please go to the Q&A tab and submit them, and then we may take a few as we go through the presentation. If not, we will definitely have plenty of time at the end to go through this question. So please submit them. So let's start with some background here before we get into more of the story. This essentially is a case study, and as we are CA Technologies, so this is essentially a case study of ourselves. But if you're not familiar with CA, we are a very large, or reasonably large technology company. We have many products. We have about 14,000 employees, and about 4,000 of them are developers. And we have developing teams all over the world. So they are here in North America, where I am, or they may be Latin America or Europe or India, China. We have people all over. So that provides some unique challenges, especially as you're moving to Agile methodologies, which are often geared more towards people being co-located. And those are some of the challenges that we faced ourselves, and now we try to help our customers solve. So as a part of that, the piece that we'll be looking at, the piece of CA we'll be looking at today, is the development team for CA Clarity PPM. And if you're not familiar with Clarity, It is a industry-leading project portfolio management tool. It's a large enterprise product. We have a lot of developers that work on it. And again, it's a worldwide team, so we have people all over who are working on this product. And we were, up until 2009, we were largely a waterfall methodology development shop. And we made the determination that, for a lot of reasons that Bill will go into, that we wanted to move to Agile. And as a part of that, we learned some things. We had some difficulties, we had some challenges, and we learned those things as any other organization does as you move to Agile. There's lots of things that every organization has to learn for itself. But there were a number of things we went through that then we put into building a tool to help us use that. And that today is what the Agile Vision tool is, that is a component of CA Clarity PPM. And we've tried to put the lessons we learned internally into that product. And that's a big part of what Bill is going to talk about today. So Bill, let's start by talking about why did CA choose to go to an Agile methodology for the development of Clarity, and you know, why did CA itself choose to go Agile, and then why would other development organizations choose to go Agile as well?
Okay, thanks, Dave. Well, let me start by talking a little bit about giving some context about what Agile is and what it means to develop using an Agile methodology, and then that leads then to why we chose to go Agile and why we felt we would bring the best value to our customers by going Agile. So the definition you're seeing on the screen now is, I think, a good definition of Agile development, and there's a couple of key points. One is that Agile is about being nimble, quick on your feet, and what that really means is some of these bullets you'll see highlighted in blue. It's the ability to respond to change and to quickly reprioritize as you respond to those changing circumstances. So, you know, our industry, or really the world in general these days, there's lots of change. So typically as we start planning a release and going through a release cycle, lots of things are changing. So the market is changing, customers' needs and requirements are changing, technology is changing. So as a result, you need to be able to change as well. So as a development team, we need to be able to move quickly within a development cycle to reprioritize and react to those changes, so that we're always developing what is most important to develop to bring the highest business value to our customers. So agility is really embraces change. That's a real key aspect of going Agile. So, and there is a mindset shift with this. If you think about more of the waterfall traditional method, you tend to end up with more fixed set of conditions. So the idea is that customers kind of know what they want. You gather the requirements early, and then you set them, you fix them, and they don't change, or they go under change control, so they change little. Developers estimate it and figure out what they're going to build, and then they commit to that. They know how to build it, and there's not a lot of room to adapt to changes that happen along the way with development. And so the new mindset is you learn as you go, you adapt as you go, you change as you go. So customers don't know what they want at the beginning of a cycle, and there will be changes as they go along, and you want to work with the customers to show them what you're building, let them learn what they're building, continue to inform what you're building, so you end up with the best solution at the end. And the same is true with developers. They learn as they go as well, and so you need to be able to incorporate those changes and that learning, and to build the right features and product as you go along. So here's a quick slide that shows sort of a difference between waterfall or sequential development and agile or overlapping or iterative development. So that top sort of row is really common. Everyone, I'm sure, is familiar with it. You kind of, in a waterfall, you define your requirements, you design, you code, you test. So everything you're doing actually is established very early in the cycle, and then you go through a long cycle to then ultimately deliver all of those requirements that you set up front. An iterative development or agile development is you do everything all at once. So the way agile works is, rather than one long release, it's broken up into what are called sprints, maybe 2, 3, 4 week cycles. And at the beginning of each sprint, you figure out, what are we doing this sprint? What are the requirements? You design, you code, and you test, all within that short 2 to 4 week sprint. And so at the end, you end up with a complete piece. Okay, it may not be a complete solution, but it's a complete piece that you can demo, you can show, you can gather more feedback on, share with your customers, and complete. It's done. And then you go on to the next sprint and you do it again. And so that next sprint is an opportunity to reprioritize. Look, we need to fit this new feature in which we hadn't thought of because it's something new has been introduced to the market we need to respond to. And so that comes in at the new sprint. You design, you code, you estimate. So it's a much more agile and adaptive way of proceeding through development. So all of this is, and the reason we need all of this and the reason we went agile, ultimately it's about one thing, which is being more responsive to our customers. So Clarity it's a leading PPM solution, and we have a very large, very passionate user community. So what that means is we get lots of needs from our customers. We're in a very dynamic, challenging market, so there's lots of changing demands based on the marketplace. And as a result, we need to be responsive to those and adapt to those. We need to be more agile. And ultimately, what it means to be more agile for us is we need to build it right, we need to build it well, and we need to build it quickly. And ultimately, that's why we went agile.
Excellent. Thank you, Bill. And, I think everyone on this call understands the need to be responsive to customers. And although your customers may be different, in our case at CA, we use Clarity. We do our project management and really our product development for external customers, the customers we ship our products to, but they may also be internal customers. So a lot of you on the call may be in IT organizations where you're doing product development for your internal customers. But they're really the same concerns. It's understanding what your customers need, being quickly responsive to them, and getting them those solutions as quickly as you can. You've talked here about build it right, build it well, and build it quickly. And I'd like you to go into that into more detail. That's something that it's certainly very easy to say and a lot more difficult to do. Could you talk in more detail about building it right, well, and quickly?
Sure. Let me just delve a little bit more in each of those. So building it right really is about building the right things, so doing the right things, building the right feature. And that's a key component of Agile. So requirements change, conditions change, so the ability to, rather than kind of do all your upfront planning and then get into a sort of a commitment of what you're going to deliver and then into a change request cycle to then make changes to that, which gets more and more costly as you move downstream in the development life cycle. Agile lets you adapt and change as you go, and so you can put in new features or add new conditions or expand requirements as you build, so you end up building the right thing. So you're not locked in, and you end up delivering the features at the end of the cycle that are most needed as you partially learn through and within the development cycle itself. Building it well is really about quality. So one of the challenges of traditional is you commit early to features and schedule, and then inevitably there are issues that you run into, and that can lead to compromise because you're trying to reach commitments that you made very early on. And rather than building small, complete features, you're really building toward a longer term goal, and so you're more at risk. And then lastly, too, if you get into distributed environments, which we certainly are in, and many organizations are, you get communication issues. So one of the attributes of Agile is you try to put people in the same location to work together as much as possible. And it's the principle, and if you follow Agile, you try to do that as much as possible. It's not always 100% possible, but it adds a lot of value to the development life cycle, to the ability for teams to communicate and collaborate if they are together, and then that does lead to higher quality. And then lastly, build it quickly. Agile is more about building the right things rather than building them faster, but in fact, what we found is there are inefficiencies in the development process, some of which I just mentioned: large features, distributed teams, long schedules, feedback loops, replanning, etc. It all slows it. Some of that is reduced, certainly, or in an agile development environment, and so you're more efficient, and so you actually can build things more quickly.
Excellent. So I think what we'd like to do next is talk about how things got started, for the Clarity team moving to Agile, but also how development teams in general would begin the transition from Waterfall into Agile. So can you talk a little about what were the initial projects like, and what were the initial challenges that you faced, and how did you face them?
Yeah, so how we started with Agile is really a lone Agile project. So you can call it a proof of concept, or a guinea pig, or an initial sort of trial project, a real project. But it was kind of a lone Agile project, and it also is mainly driven by engineers. So Agile has actually grown a lot through support of engineers and developers. It's a system that works really well for building and developing products and technologies of various types. So ours was a project that was primarily technology, primarily driven by engineers, and we decided we would go use Agile for that approach. And for the team itself, it worked great. The team was collaborating. They were excited with the process of Agile. They collaborated well. They innovated well. It worked very well for the team. The real challenge we had was that it didn't work as well for the rest of the organization. So having an Agile project by itself means you have some challenges in terms of, how do stakeholders get visibility into that project? How does it fit into the larger, say, life cycles of the rest of the projects in the company? How is it prioritized and funded and reported on in comparison with the other projects? And also, how do product managers engage with the Agile development project? So the real challenges were around taking that Agile project and then fitting it into the larger organization and making it work for everybody.
Okay. So at what point did the team determine it needed to move to an Agile tool or a different Agile tool? And what were the issues that came up that required a different tool and new capabilities? And what were the issues and what were the problems that tool resolved?
So a tool is important for a number of reasons. And so one of the reasons is just there's really two key high-level pieces, which is, one, you need to support the team itself, and two, you need to support stakeholders. So you're looking for a tool or set of tools which will do both. In terms of the team, I would say Agile teams, I think, quickly become excited. They like Agile. They're excited about the process. They want to do it right. They want to follow the Agile process, and you need to really support them in that. You want to, channel that energy and passion and support it as best you can. And that really means you need a tool that's, dedicated. It's custom built. Its whole purpose is to serve an Agile planning methodology. So you need a tool that is for Agile. The other real reason is if you have distributed teams, and as I mentioned, you want to co-locate people as much as possible in an Agile development environment, but mostly we did that, but we almost always, you got one or two people who, may not be in that same area. They have to be somewhere else, and so you do have distributed teams. You need to support them, and to support distributed teams, you can't be just in one single conference room writing on a whiteboard or putting Post-its on a whiteboard, which is part of an Agile process. You need to support that in a software tool that can be shared with a common database, common collaboration means, and so that's a very important reason to have the tool. And then lastly, really need to have a tool which integrates well with your other systems, so it integrates with the overall project reporting standards. So what we did was we went with Agile Vision, which is our tool. Let me stop for a moment and say, so CA in general uses Clarity PPM to manage all their projects. Every single product and every single project in CA is managed within Clarity. That's what we use. So when we say going to an Agile tool, we still use Clarity, which I'll talk to in a minute, but for the Agile projects themselves, we used Agile Vision, which is CA's, we built it to support Agile projects, and then we used it. And so Agile Vision, like many Agile tools, its focus is on a single project, a single release. So you have a release backlog, and you have your sprint backlog, and it supports managing that project. What we also need, though, to bring in the rest of the organization is support product management and support stakeholders and standards. So we also, CA also developed Product Vision, which is really seamlessly integrated with Agile Vision. And what it does is its purpose is to support the product manager. So it goes beyond a single project or release. It supports multiple projects, multiple products. This is where the product manager builds up a product backlog, creates a product roadmap, drives that into Agile Vision for development, and then tracks it throughout. So by using Product Vision, we brought in the product manager into the Agile world. And then lastly, both Agile Vision and Product Vision then integrate with Clarity, so that Clarity holds all the standard planning that the organization does for all projects. So you have your life cycle in there, you have your resource planning in there, you have your reporting and metrics in there. All of that's within Clarity, and then the Agile projects are implemented or planned using Agile Vision. So it's a suite of tools here that work together to make Agile work both for the team and for the organization.
Excellent. Yeah, I understand how an Agile tool is needed, like you said, for distributed teams like what we have with Clarity, where they're not able to get in the same room and look at the same whiteboard. And tools clearly help those team members that are distributed to collaborate. But like you said, we also have the collaboration issues with other stakeholders, like product managers, for instance. And I know we've built in some other collaboration aspects that are built into our tools, both Product Vision and Agile Vision that you mentioned. I know one of them that we have built in is the chatter functionality, where it's a really kind of a social networking sort of functionality that people are used to, and it helps product managers, for instance, to stay on top of requirements as they change, or developers as they work on them. So there's clearly a lot that a tool brings to the table in terms of helping Agile teams work together, collaborate in distributed environments and with other stakeholders. So I think this is excellent. I hope this part is valuable to others on the phone. If you could we talk next about the issues related to moving to hybrid sorts of methodologies? You know, as you're transitioning from traditional or waterfall into Agile, not everyone cleanly goes into pure Agile methodologies. In fact, they may have many variations of them, where they may be a hybrid of waterfall and Agile, or they may move in Agile, but they still have to meet some stage gate requirements that they need to meet for their organization. Could you talk next about how the Clarity team handled those requirements and how they were able to move forward with that?
Sure. This is an important piece, because organizations that I've worked with about this, particularly ones of any size, a real common scenario is that they support both sort of traditional or waterfall projects and Agile projects. So often, I think organizations are following similar scenarios to what we followed, which is the CA organization was following traditional project management all throughout all of their projects, and then slowly we started building up Agile projects. So Clarity PPM division went fully Agile along the V13 release. Other product lines within CA started going Agile as well shortly thereafter, and so you end up with a mix of projects and project management. Some are the traditional projects and some are the Agile. And so how do you support those? And that's where ultimately where Clarity fits in. So Clarity ultimately is where you do all of your overall project planning. So you do your portfolio planning, deciding what projects you can and want to take on, which are the highest priority. You do your financial planning and project costing to set your budgets and determine what projects can fit within that budget. You do your resource planning and capacity versus demand to figure out what how you're going to distribute your resources across your projects. So that high-level planning goes in, and then projects get funded. So you go into your stage gate or phased funding project life cycles, and projects get funded within Clarity, and then they get staffed, and then they get set on their way through the stage gate life cycle. What happens then next in Clarity is if you're a traditional project, what you're going to do is you're going to do your project management and project planning and project scheduling using something like Microsoft Project or Open Workbench. And so what you essentially do is take that project out into, let's say, Microsoft Project. You do all your planning and scheduling. You check it back into Clarity, and all of the information is there in Clarity to be reported on and measured against, and to go through the funding and stage gates. If you're an Agile project, you don't open the project up in Microsoft Project, you open it up in Agile Vision. So you're doing the same basic thing. You're checking it out in Agile Vision, and everyone does all their planning in Agile Vision. The team member does their sprint planning in Agile Vision. They do their virtual walls and task planning in Agile Vision. They set their estimates and record their time in Agile Vision. And all of that flows back into Clarity. So the team member is just working in Agile Vision alone, where they want to be working to do their Agile project. But that information flows back into Clarity, so you can see, well, how much time are we spending on this project? How much money are we spending on this project? How is this? What's the status of this project? And standard, reports and metrics apply to the project. And then overall, phase gate or stage gate life cycle can be applied to both the traditional and the Agile project. So that's a real key aspect of successfully supporting Agile within an organization, is supporting both types of projects. So that's where Clarity takes care of that piece. So let me close here then and say, so ultimately we went fully Agile for the Clarity v13 release, and we successfully delivered Clarity v13 with using a pure Agile Scrum development methodology and the suite of tools I covered in today's story. So that's our story, and what I want to just close with is the Agile Manifesto. And this is just sort of the guiding principles of Agile, which is to improve development of software or products or technology. These are some of the key principles, which is individuals in interaction over processes and tools, working software over documentation, so you build it and you show it and you see it and learn from it, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. You include customers in the cycle. We demoed to them at the end of every sprint. We demoed the customers and showed what we had and gathered feedback, and so that helps make sure you're building the right thing that's going to give the best business value to the customers. And ultimately, responding to change over following a plan. This is one of the key elements of Agile. You have to be able to adapt and adjust and reprioritize rather than commit and follow a plan that was set and at the beginning. Things change and you have to adapt. So I'll close there. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Bill. Well, with that, I think we will move into the Q&A section. And we, like we said at the beginning, we wanted to make sure we have time to answer all the questions that come in. We do have a few. And the first one, Bill, is one that has come in, a very nicely worded question the question says, such large demands and changing needs within the organization, communication amongst teams is a big challenge, as is coordination and monitoring. How does one determine that the project is meeting all the necessary parameters of it being Agile?
Well, so the way Agile projects work is, so let me take you through a scenario of how we manage the Agile project. So as a product manager, I had a product backlog. These are all the items I want to get into the product, and it's a backlog that will take years to fully deliver, and it's constantly changing. You're constantly grooming that backlog, reprioritizing. And at some point, when you say, okay, we're going to do a release or a set of releases, you build out your product roadmap, you take those highest priority requirements, and you figure out which ones you want to fit into that release, and you move them into the release backlog. So this is all the things we want to accomplish in this release. Then the next, as you go, then you go into your sprint. So you sprint one. I think we were on a 2 or 3 week sprint cycle. And so in that sprint one, the team sits together, and the product manager is part of the team, and they look at that release backlog, and it's prioritized, and they determine which items to take into the first sprint. So some of them are, this is the most important feature, we need to do it first. Some may be, this is a complex technology problem, we want to start it right away. So a variety of reasons can dictate which ones you take in, but generally you work your way down the list in terms of priority. You put them in there, and you have rough sizing, and they go into that sprint, and you work on it. Through the course of the sprint, you work to complete the solution, and you get it, and you finish it, you get it done, you demo it. And that was a 2 or 3 week sprint there, not a large amount of time. When you go into the next sprint, essentially you're planning again. You're looking at that release backlog again, and it may have been reprioritized, during the course of that sprint, and you're choosing which items to take on for the next sprint. So it's sort of a constant replanning. That's just natural part of the Agile cycle to do that replanning and to finish. So that leads to getting the right things done, and ultimately the product manager is driving that and responsible for it, and he's the one who will make sure the right things get in and get built. But the team contributes to helping get those done and helping the planning phase at each sprint.
Okay, very good. And the next question is one I think I can answer. The question is, are developers, Agile developers, if they're using Agile Vision, are they able to work with data from other application lifecycle management tools? The answer is for Agile Vision, for CA's tool, yes, that is the case. There is an integration that our tool has with using TaskTop, and that's through TaskTop Dev and TaskTop Sync that integrates Agile Vision in with other ALM tools, and then in turn that data is able to move into Agile Vision and then, of course, up to Clarity. So that is something that is available through our Agile Vision product. Another question we have, Bill, is at what point or what Clarity releases did the team become completely Agile, or did it become completely Agile?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the road to going completely Agile, which we did get to, took a while. We went through several steps. So the first step was the Lone Agile project, which we learned a lot from. We had our challenges in terms of integrating with the rest of the organization. Our next step, which I haven't actually really talked about today, was we moved to sort of a modified Agile development. So we didn't initially embrace full Agile or the Scrum methodology, which is the Agile methodology we ended up using. We didn't take that on in its entirety. So it's one of those what you call an Agile. It's Agile but systems. So in that sort of middle phase, we were, I would say, somewhat inventing processes. So, how does Agile fit into this overall development life cycle? How do we have to modify our processes and the Agile processes to make this work? And so that was another project we did. And what we learned from that one is that it might actually be better to go fully Agile, not do an Agile modified system, because, one, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out new processes. It's a continual thing throughout the life of the project to do. And ultimately where we got was feeling like it was not where we wanted to be, and we decided to go to the third phase, which was, let's go fully Agile. So we went fully Scrum all the way, followed all the principles, did all the followed all the guidelines of the Scrum Agile methodology, and that's when we became fully Agile. So that was for version 13. We became fully Agile, and it took us, probably, the whole cycle there was a good 2 or 3 years going through the Lone Agile project, the modified Agile, and finally coming to the fully Agile version for V13. And again, that's the Clarity PPM division is fully Agile. CA as a whole is a mix. There's the traditional projects and the Agile projects.
Okay. Next question is around, it looks like around more detail into how we handled the different offices in different locations. So it sounds like the question is if we could talk more about how we handled the difficulties there of both within a tool and outside of a tool of how to handle Scrum team meetings that were you have people that are different times of the day. What were some of the things that we did to work through that and help these teams to work together in an Agile process?
Yeah, so first, and we do have multiple offices. We have 2 offices in California, 2 development offices in California. We have development offices in India, and we also have individual team members, development team members, kind of scattered, throughout, kind of in individual locations as well. So first and foremost, our first step was putting teams together that were in the same offices. So in one California office, that was one team. In another California office, there were several teams within that office, but those teams were located in the same spot. The same is true for India. We built up Scrum teams that were primarily within that single location. And then, as needed, we added people in from other locations as well. So in general, the majority of the team was co-located, and we had 1 or 2 or 3 members who were elsewhere, who were off-site. So how we handled that basically was with the Agile Vision tool. Everyone, it's a common database. Everyone can see the user stories, the tasks, the virtual wall, the sprint information, the dependencies. There's collaboration within that in terms of speaking together and sharing information. So that's what Agile brings. But then beyond that, what we would do in terms of our, say, sprint planning, we schedule a meeting where everyone can attend, regardless of time frame, and we put Agile Vision on the projector in the conference room and on the screen for the offsite people, and we look at the release backlog. We look at the user stories and the tasks and the estimates. We discuss them as a team, everybody together live, and we would decide which user stories to move into that sprint and why, and who's going to take them. And how they're going to be tested. So we did live meetings with the Agile Vision screens on the wall to help us do our planning and our sprint planning and our sprint management.
Okay, very good. And that appears to be. I think we have answered all the questions that have come in. So unless there are no other questions that come in here quickly, I think we'll move to take a few minutes and talk about how everyone else can get more information. If you are, if you would like more details about this story that we've gone through, there's a couple of different places where we have even more detail written up for you. The first is we have a success story document about CA. It's CA's own success story about itself, about moving to Agile methodologies. And you'll find that on CA.com. So if you go to the Success Stories area and you search for Agile, you will find it there. Also, Bill has written his own in-depth white paper on this that gives even more insights and background into the process that CA went through internally. And you'll find that on Digital Celerity's website, on digitalcelerity.com. If you'd like to find out all kinds of other hopefully valuable information for you on Agile, we have lots of other success stories and webcasts generally about moving from traditional to Agile and specifically about solutions that are available. Please go to ca.com/getagile. It's our landing page for everything Agile, and I think you'll find a lot of great information there. further than that, if you would like to find more solution information about the solutions we've talked about here that we offer at CA, the CA Agile Vision Solution and CA Clarity PPM and how they work together, please go to ca.com for that /project portfolio management. And likewise, for complete information on what Digital Celerity offers and the complete services they offer, and they're able to offer quite a bit with their vast expertise on Agile, please go to digitalcelerity.com and you'll find out full information about them. So I don't see any other questions coming in, so I think for that, I think we'd like to wrap up and say thank you all for joining us today. We hope that this has been valuable and insightful, and if you're a Clarity customer, it may just have been interesting to you to hear some of the background from Bill. And Bill, I'll let you say a word here before we sign off.
Sure. Well, thanks everyone for attending. I hope you got some value out of the session, and yeah, I encourage you, if you'd like to find more, to go to the Digital Celerity site and take a look at the Going Agile white paper, which kind of covers the story in more detail. So thanks a lot.
Excellent. So thank you all again for joining us. We very much appreciate you taking the time to join us today.